Hello friends, the last class we saw that England had become a bilingual state. Now after that, from 1200 onwards, a number of changes took place at the political level, social level, economic level and literary level. As a result of that, by 15,000, English again won back its position as the national language of England. So we are going to see the reasons why. Reason number one, the first one is the loss of King John lost Normandy. First, we can say the loss of Normandy by King John. See, English kings after 1066, they had a double role. They are two in one. That means they were kings in England, but they were dukes in France. So as kings in England, they were the subordinate, they were under, so to say, because they are already duke. And during this, say, the beginning of 1204, to be precise, a quarrel took place between the royal quarrel between King John of England and King Philip of France. So there were some complaints about King John, some charges against him, and so King Philip, the people who moved against the king, approached the King Philip of France because he was his overlord in France. So he summoned King Philip, summoned King John, come and answer these charges. John said, it's none of my business. I am king here, I am not going to come. So as a result of this, what happened? King Philip confiscated Normandy. Means he took over Normandy. Thus King John lost Normandy. So the first connection, the link connecting England and France, that was lost. There is separation, that's what happened. And then secondly, second point is separation of the nobility. Separation of the nobility, the nobles. And this happened like this. See, after the conquest by William Duke of Normandy, many English nobles, they had possessions in France, and many French nobles, they had possessions in England, estates, so to say. Then what happened is, since this first, the umbilical cord, you can say, that is cut, the result that the English king confiscated the estates of the French nobles in England. In retaliation, the French king confiscated the estate of the English nobles in France. So there was a separation of nobility. Again, reasons one after another, why, how this link or this connection between these two, what relation, how the foundation of the relationship between these two countries slowly broke away. This is what happened. So separation happened. And the third reason is, because the third is reaction against foreigners. This happened, Henry III. During the reign of Henry, the long reign of Henry III, the country was eaten up by foreigners. See, Mathew Paris, he quotes like this: it was full to overflowing. England was full to overflowing. Mathew Paris. He says, England was full to overflowing with foreigners, and they did a lot of harm to the English. So this, naturally what happened, this people and King Henry III, he was recklessly bestowing favors to the foreigners, and the Englishmen could not tolerate this. So they, in a way, we can say, rose up against this attitude of the king. Plus, a kind of patriotic feeling began to emerge in the mind of the English people. So we are here, we are natives, and the foreigners are coming, they are taking away all the benefits and also the advantages they are getting from the king. Reckless bestowal, that's what it is, reckless. So English became conscious, the English people became conscious of unity. And the English people began to say that English, if you are an Englishman, you should know English. So in other words, we can say, as I told you, it's a reaction against the foreigners and also growth of national consciousness. Understand? Then the fourth reason is, there was a slogan, English for England. English for England. So that means there was a saying, or there was a kind of campaign that if you are an Englishman, you should speak English. Whether you are upper class or lower class, whether you are a laborer or a master, whether you are a slave or a lord, if you want to remain in England, you should know English. And Edward I, the son of Henry III, himself spoke English readily and habitually. That's the thing. A bishop gave a sermon in English. A judge, his verdict in English. The monks joked in English. The friars used to explain legal problems in English. There's a royal proclamations in English. And people started thinking that French is a foreign language. Children of nobility began to learn English. So the spread of English, we can say, it was very rapid. So from king to the lowest strata from court people to the lowest strata of the population, they began using English. And then the fifth reason, that is historical again, as you can see, that was 100 Years' War. 100 Years' War. 100 Years' War, was fought between England and France. So with this, what happened? Englishmen considered France as their enemy country. When it is enemy country, the language is also that of the enemy. And therefore, Englishmen exhorted his brethren to stop using French because it is the language of our enemies, and start cultivating the use of English. A sixth reason is, in popular writings, a very famous one those days, Cursor Mundi. Cursor Mundi, that is Latin, means course of the world. Course of the world. That's the English. Cursor Mundi is an encyclopedic poem, long poem about biblical subjects. What happened is, Cursor Mundi, the writer, clearly protested against the use of English and gave a patriotic support for English. Protested against French and patriotic support for English. Use of French in the 14th century had become an artificial thing. If somebody would be using French, it would be an artificial language for the Englishman. And seventh reason, see, I suppose you are getting these points. And the seventh reason, you have got a rise of a new middle class. A new middle class. That is what happened, this is the Black Death. Plague and the consequent Black Death. The Black Death affected the poor people, the laborers. So a number of them died. What is the result? Immediate result is shortage of labor. So labor was in great demand, and they earned a lot of money. When you learn a lot of money, you migrate from the lower class to the upper class, or from middle class to the upper class. And these people, they are speaking English. There is a dictum that is, the importance of a language depends on the people who use it. English has become world language. or one of the most important and significant contributors is Americans. Understand that? One of the American, because America is a very powerful country. America is the global policeman. They are using English. So English has become one of the reasons I said is the use of English by Americans. That is, the language, the importance of language depends on the importance of the people who use it. Now this new middle class, as a result of, so it is a unfortunate thing, but it so happened that all the laborers, they died, number of them died, there was a shortage of labor, so they were employed in many places, and there was a demand from the wage, increase of wage. As a result of that, these people became rich, and so we have got a new middle class, and this new middle class, they were speaking English. So the importance of English, we can say, increased. And then the eighth reason is English in court. English in the court. See, as you can see, official language. Slowly it's becoming official language. Legal proceedings were conducted in English. Legal proceedings. Then we can see in Middlesex. In Middlesex and also in London, the court proceedings were conducted in English. Lawsuits and official decrees and orders were issued in English. So official recognition, that's important. Official recognition was given to English as the national language. And the ninth point is Oxford schoolmasters. Oxford schoolmasters, their support, schoolmasters, their support and the use of English in the schools, Oxford schoolmasters. That's very important, no? Educational system. You remember the Masks of Conquest by Gauri Vishwanathan. See, that is a kind of a conquest by using language. With Lord Macaulay introduced the 1835 minutes, some people say it is famous, some people say it is notorious, some people say it is useful, some people say it is making Indians slaves. Now, whatever it is, that there is a polemic, it will never end. We cannot conclude we cannot come to a conclusion. But one thing is sure: introduction of English in India during the time of East India Company, British rule. They had an axe to grind. An axe to grind means a selfish reason. As we have already seen, elsewhere we saw that is their contention was that we need people who speak our language so that we can employ them as clerks and babus. So it was not for making a Shakespeare in India or a Chaucer in India or a T.S. Eliot in India. The point was that selfish motives, selfish reasons. So as we find here, say to Oxford schoolmasters. So that is why were they so much interested in using English to somehow push out this foreign language called French and then establish English language as their national language once again. So schoolmasters, medium in the school section, they can be of great help or support for establishing the power of a language in a country. So that is introduction of English that we can see. And then 10th reason is ignorance of French. Now you can see as a result of these changes and this processes, you can see people stopped studying or learning French. Because learning French did not have any advantage, any added advantage. Because the court has already, King's Court is now using English. So what is the use of so it's for some benefit, you know. You want to get some benefit, something out of it by learning a foreign language. Just as you can see, now almost 70%, maybe an exaggeration, or 60% of educated people, they are taking up the IELTS exam. Why are they taking IELTS exam? It's because they want to get a job outside India. In English speaking countries, if you want to get a job, you have to get at least 7 or 8. That is the point, I think. Or 6.5 onwards. You have to get a rank. See that point. Then only then you will be considered even for a job in English speaking countries. Of course, in some other countries, TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language. In America is that. And also you have got OET, occupational English test. So why are you taking all these things? Is it because of your great interest in learning English? No, not. To be very frank, it is not that. It's for job. So, French you are studying, it's not. It doesn't give you any social recognition. You will be considered as a foreigner, so that is a kind of a disadvantage. And there is a slogan that English for England, there is a pressure like that, So people stop practically learning French language. And Caxton, William Caxton, he said, he wrote like this: most people understood neither Latin nor French, but they understood only noble English in England. William Caxton wrote like this: most people, they neither do they know Latin nor do they know French, but they know only the noble English. English people in England, so the adjective used there, noble English. Understand? So that means it has been raised to the level of language used by the upper class people. So that is the other reason. Now the 11th reason we can say is use of English in writing. 11th, so that you get a picture of the whole thing can be seen and you can write down. So that's why I am not clearing this. So we have got the 11th reason here for your advantage in writing. That is English records and writing. Parliament started recording its proceedings in English, and letters used to be written in English. See, that is because of, it gives importance to that language. So records of government records of parliament, records of offices, etc. were being kept in English, and letter writing also. And then the 12th reason I think I told you, that is 1350 to 1400. This is the period of great individual writers. Great individual writers. And chief among them, Chaucer. First one is Geoffrey Chaucer, Canterbury Tales, Troilus and Cresside, or Cresside. Some people pronounce it as Cresside. Some people pronounce it as Cresside. Whichever you want to take, I think officially it is Cresside. Troilus and Cresside, then Canterbury Tales, Prologue to Canterbury Tales, and then William Langland, Piers the Plowman, and John Wycliffe translated the Bible into English. So these people, they made tremendous, or you can say very profound and significant contribution to the growth, development and use of English. So English was raised to the level of a literary language. So that period, 1350 afterwards, 1400 and afterwards, is known as period of imitation. Imitative period, imitative writing. Because the other authors, other writers who came after Chaucer, Langland and John Wycliffe, they imitated these people. So it is called a period of imitation, or transition period, you can say. Because in between Chaucer and afterwards there is some gap, and then we come to Shakespeare. So that period between Chaucer and Shakespeare is called the period of imitation or imitative period. That is because those writers who came after them imitated Chaucer Langland, and such great individual writers, and or it's also known as transition period. So this period, there are very many prominent writers during this period, but when you have got the three gigantic figures, towering figures like this, the other, you have a towering tree, underneath that, if other trees grow, they will look like pygmies. So this is what happened in England also. After Chaucer, Langland and John Wycliffe, all those who came till, all those who wrote till Shakespeare, they are considered as insignificant. But they are not insignificant. It's because of these towering figures like these three, their significance has been reduced, we can say. So anyhow, writers and literature of the Middle English period contributed quite a lot. So there is Margaret Schlock, English language in modern times. She has a quote. She said that not only did Chaucer choose the London tongue because it alone was living, but he embellished it with all kind of literary qualities. So look at that. That's the Chaucer's influence on English language. Chaucer's influence to raise it to the level of a modern language. Chaucer's contributions to make this vernacular means native language, as a standard language is immense. That we cannot overestimate his contribution to the growth and development of English as a literary language. Because of these reasons, we can say that English, once again, see the writers, the fortunes of the writers and the fortunes of English, they go together. Fortunes of English depended very much on the fortunes of these writers. See, they have become great men, great period is called, great individual writers. So their contribution we cannot underestimate, is immense, we can say. As a result of these 12 reasons, we can say English was re-established as the national language of England by 1500. So you can see ups and downs, isn't it? Ups and downs. Before I said ups, no, that is not the right way of showing it. No. Ups and downs. So you can see 1066. The journey begins in the year 1066 on Christmas Day, when William Duke of Normandy was crowned as the King of England. Then French dominance everywhere. As I told you in the last class, suppose it had continued, and these changes, social, political, and war, 100 Years' War, and Edward I initiatives, and great individual writers, the author of Cursor Mundi, Oxford schoolmasters, and loss of Normandy, suppression of the nobility, if these things, and Black Death, if these things had not happened, I would now be teaching you French literature, and you will be getting an MA in French literature, not English literature. So that is, we cannot, fortunes of language, like fortunes of human beings, it will have ups and downs. And finally, patriotic feeling, and then effort made by schoolmasters, efforts made by great writers, and political events like loss of Normandy and 100 Years' War. These worked together. This configured, you can say, it's a configuration and confluence, if you want to put it like that. A configuration of events took place. As a result of that, English was again re-established by the year 1500. Now, in the next class, we will see, we are in the Middle English period now. What are the characteristics of Middle English? What happened to Middle English? Before that, we will see, we also have to see the French borrowings. When you say influence of a language, that means borrowings from that language for enrichment. We have seen Celtic, we saw Latin, 3 periods, 0 period, first period, second period, Christianizing, and then we saw Scandinavian influence also. Now this is the 4th influence. Of course, this is the one step is in Old English, and the remaining 1/3 in Old English, and the remaining 2/3 in Middle English. So we can say enrichment of Middle English by the French connection. The French connection and the enrichment of English. That is the significant thing that you have to see. The other things are historical processes. Say a war, a conquest, and then you have got other developments like this, social, political, economic, and also we can see about religion. See, religion also contributed. So, monks started joking in English. Bishops started giving sermons in English. See, so they contributed to this, and as a result of this, by 15,000, we can see all the reasons. 15,000 English was re-established. So once again, loss of Normandy, quarrel between King John and King Philip of France. You know their positions. Suppression of nobility, confiscation, reaction against foreigners, Henry III, reckless bestowal of benefits to these people, and a quotation by Mathew we have seen. English for England, that is a slogan. 100 Years' War, by which these two nations became enemies. Kursar Mundi, that is popular writings like this, a supported patriotic support for English. Rise of a new middle class as a result of Black Death. English in the court, that is official recognition. Oxford schoolmasters education system, and ignorance of French, because English had already taken over the position of French language, and records and writing became official, and contributions made by great individual writers. Alright, I hope that you have followed and you enjoyed. So this course will continue, and so that you may not miss my classes. It's a support system for you. So I request you to subscribe to my channel, and you get more for your UGC and NET, and also for your postgraduate examination. You can go through. So you can visit my site English www.englishforme.in. You have got a series of literary theories. Say Aristotle, Horace, Longinus, then Sidney, Wordsworth, John Dryden, Alexander Pope. Some more will be. Some more are in the process of making, you can say. And then you have T.S. Eliot, Tradition and Individual Talent. Also the poem The Wasteland. You have got lectures on phonetics in this channel, my channel. And you have got lectures on cultural studies, right from introduction to Bhaskar Mukhopadhyaya. And also some others like Hall, 2 essays of Hall. See, one is the paradigms, 2 paradigms, and the other is communication. What is modes of communication, that is. And a few more essays are there I have done. You have got phonetics, 20 lectures. You have got transformational generative grammar and traditional grammar, IC analysis, and then phrase structure grammar. So on all these things I have taken classes. These are some students write to me saying that these are very useful, so it will be useful for you also. So therefore I am requesting you to subscribe to my channel, and also if you love your friends, you should tell them also. If you have got good friends, a friend in need is a friend indeed. And therefore, if you have got good friends, if you want to help them, tell them also to subscribe to my channel. It will be a great help for me as well as for you. So till we meet again, bye. Have a nice time. Enjoy.